Hi everyone. So recently I was actually talking to one of my friends and I didn't even realize this was a big deal until I said it out loud. And it's this: if there's one thing that really helped me in terms of my business, in terms of my property portfolio, and in terms of maybe just even my life moving forward, it was this main thing. Honestly speaking, it's not any secret or anything, but I realized it's the alignment with my wife. That was what actually made me achieve all this. So the story here was that previously, before or when I was actually moving out of my mom's place to go into my own place after I got married, I was actually packing one of my drawers. In the drawers, I had a serviette, and it was a Morton serviette. So just a bit of backstory. Previously, for dating, we used to go to Morton's a few times. So they had like the happy hour, then the free steak sandwiches. So one of the times where we were actually just having drinks, I was actually just sharing it. This is actually my dream. So this actually happened before I got married. I told her, okay, this is my dream. Before 30, I want to have maybe a couple of properties, 1 or 2 properties. So value about 1.8, 1.9, maybe up to about 2 mil. So at that time, we were just having some drinks. Then after that, I had a pen and paper. So we literally just wrote, I want to buy at that time maybe a 1 to 1.2 mil property under my name, then maybe a 800,000 property under her name. So I actually wrote down, okay, what's the down payment, how much we actually need, then by what date do we want to achieve that by? Then we actually go and to sign it. So when I was actually moving out of my mom's place, I opened the drawer, I looked at the serviette, I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually came true. Because before 30, we actually bought a property that was about 1.8 plus mil. So that actually came true. And to me, honestly speaking, how did that happen? I don't really know at that time. There wasn't, did you follow this plan or this Excel sheet? You will reach there. But to me at that time, looking back, there is that certain alignment. That was our goal, and that was what we both wanted to achieve as well. So the reason why I'm actually sharing this is because recently I met some couples, or over the years I met couples that are not exactly super aligned. So sometimes, actually honestly speaking, a lot of times, one spouse will want to, hey, I want to go for this property, I want to grow my wealth through property, I want to elevate my assets through property. And the other spouse will be like, no, I don't want to do such a thing. So a lot of times, they don't take action. Over the last, I would say 10, 20 years, if you didn't really take action in your property purchases or your property journey, essentially you're just stuck with that property. So to me, that is essentially time. It's one of the most important things when you're talking about elevating a property, growing a property through asset elevation. Essentially, you lose time, you lose momentum. There is no gains, there is no growth. So to me, that is something that if let's say you're talking about, I'm looking more long term, I want to grow my assets through property, that's something that you might actually lose out on. So on the flip side, what I see is that there's also a number of clients that are a lot more aligned, or maybe even if there's fear, there is still that alignment. Okay, I want to eventually reach this certain stage, and I want to use property to help me achieve that as well. So when they have that alignment, everything moves. Yes, there will be fear here and there, but at the end of the day, we also know that fear, we will go through it together. So actually, before my wife Claire and I got married, she was very, very supportive of everything I did. So when it came to my business, when it came to growing my team, how I ran the business, how I wanted to scale up, what I wanted to do for the business, she'll be very supportive. As long as it makes sense to me, as long as it makes sense for the business, the bigger picture, she'll just say, okay, go for it, you go and do it, I'll settle the rest. So to me, I always had that support behind me. I always had that trust that, if I really want to go ahead and maybe scale up the business, do this, do that, change, essentially, I know there is always that pillar of support. So I honestly, truly, really appreciate that. And there are also times where she'll be like, is this really the best way to do it? So sometimes she also will see my blind spots. Could we be doing something else? Could we be doing more for this case, for this client, or for maybe for the business? So sometimes she's also there to see my blind spots, because at the end of the day, sometimes when I'm so busy doing this and that, essentially I might miss out a couple of things. So this essentially is the kind of grounding that I honestly never really take for granted as well. So you know the saying, right? Essentially, behind every successful man, there is a strong woman. So honestly speaking, this is what I also learned from a lot of my bosses, Kelvin Fong, Ismail. So I know them personally as well. Essentially, how they've grown their businesses, their wives are super supportive. This is what I've seen, what I've learned from them as well. Honestly speaking, this is what I really admire about them as well. If they really want to go and grow their business, they want to grow their own property assets, their wives are fully supportive. So I wish my wife also, at the end of the day, this is how I also want to grow the business. And this, I realize, is how we actually grew our business for the last 10 years. So I also learned a lot about this because when I first started in the industry, I was honestly very young. I was about 21 when I first started to do property. So what I really learned along the way, and I actually learned this during one of the courses, is that if you want to have a successful career, you must have a happy family first. And it has to come in this order. That means a happy family will give you that successful career. So it cannot be the other way, okay? So to me, when I first heard it, I was like, does it really make sense? Shouldn't it be the other way? Because me, for myself, I didn't really grow up with a lot of money. I didn't really have a lot of things that I wanted growing up. So I thought, hey, if I have a lot of money, then essentially by right, I should be happy, my family should be happy. But along the way and throughout the courses, I also realized really is that you have to be happy at home with your partner, with your family, with your kids. Only then your business will truly be successful. And sometimes when I say you have to be happy at home, that home doesn't necessarily mean, okay, it's just with your partner, with your family. But sometimes the home, it's you. That means for yourself, are you truly happy? Are you truly at peace? Of course, at the end of the day, it's not easy to do something like that, but we all strive to do that. Are you really happy? And honestly speaking, I now really understand it a lot more as compared to the first time that they shared this with me, because I realized when I'm really happy and when I'm happy at home, I'm not arguing, everything will go a lot more smoother. So you think about it. This is what I always share with my agents as well. If, for example, you just argue with your spouse, your girlfriend, boyfriend in the morning, you go to work, you realize a lot of times whatever hiccups can come up will come up in the case one, and then it'll be very difficult. But you think back to those days that you were really happy. You wake up, maybe you go exercise, you had your coffee, you started the day well. Essentially, everything throughout the day works. So to me, this is what I really believe today, and this is what I also try to do as much as possible. How do I really be happy at home? How do I really be the best version of myself so that we can have a very successful career as well? So a lot of times, as long as you and your partner are solid, everything out there, you all can conquer together. So recently I met a couple of friends who reminded me of how Claire and I were maybe about 5-10 years ago when we've just started our property journey, when we just started our business and expanding and scaling up. So I was just sharing with them, don't underestimate the power of really just sitting down, aligning your goals, sharing with each other what your goals are, so that both of you can really be aligned. Both of you can see the end of the road or can see that goal that you both want to achieve together. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we need to know, okay, exactly when are we going to do certain things, exactly how are we going to do it. But sometimes, what's the main goal or what's your long-term objective that both of you want as a family and for your retirement? So that's actually how Claire and I started, and I feel that alignment is really very important because that's really just the start of where the entire journey is going to take everyone. So looking back over the last 10-15 years, I don't think we would have achieved whatever we have achieved today if we didn't have that alignment, if we didn't have that discussion to, hey, these are my goals, these are the things that I want to achieve or that we want to achieve together. So it's not like, hey, we struck 4D or Toto, that kind of thing, but it's really about just sitting down and aligning what we really want to achieve at the end of the day. And of course, believing in the same direction. So if you're watching this, my advice to everyone is that if you haven't actually sat down and set your goal, your long-term objectives with your spouse, just sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of wine, talk about what do you really want to achieve by the time you retire? What's your big goal that you want to achieve together as a family? So essentially set goals together. Even if you have to go and write it on a serviette. Let's say you go happy hour, you write on a serviette again. To me, most important is you're both aligned because you never know what both of you can achieve together. So this format of video is a bit different from the typical kind of videos where I share with you more about real estate, more about what's happening in the market. So this is just really more about how I've been through my entire journey in terms of growing the business, in terms of real estate, in terms of growing the portfolio for our own properties, in terms of growing as a person as well. So if you like this video and if you want to see more of such videos, maybe give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and any of your comments down in the chat as well. That's all I have for today. So see everyone soon. Bye.